Welcome, everyone, to another episode of Command Control Power. This is a public show, and it's early in 2026, but as we record, it's the end of 2025. So how does that time frame sort of finding you, Sam? How are you doing?
The end of the year? Well,
Yeah.
people always ask me, are you busy or are you slow at this time of year? And I think we're still pretty busy from what I can see. Some of my clients like to push things at the end of the year, like push through financial purchases or things like
Yeah.
that. So that does make me particularly busy, I think, for that reason. So we'll see. I have Matt off for the entirety of the break between
Wow.
Christmas and New Year's. So
Mhm.
we'll see if
If you can
how that
handle it.
works out for me. Yeah.
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 Yeah. How are you handling the timing? So the timing this year is really interesting. We typically, I mean, it's just tradition at this point. It's been the longest time we have, between Christmas and New Year's off. We consider that our break as well. But this year, like, Christmas Eve is a Wednesday. So, are you working Monday and Tuesday, like the 22nd and 23rd? How are you handling that break this year?
Yeah, I mean, I expect it to be quiet, but
Yeah.
that break that I was mentioning for Matt is starting on Monday. So that week, that
Wow.
whole
Okay.
time, because he had
Yeah.
some time that he hadn't taken.
Yeah.
So I'm just like, go for it, man. Just we'll see what happens. We'll
Nice.
figure it out. But yeah, so I'm going to be kind of a solo operator technically for a while. So we'll see.
Nice. Well, we'll look forward to hearing how that went in the next episode that everyone else will hear at home. Yeah, we're kind of treating it the same way. Like Tim is going to be covering probably the Monday, Tuesday of that week. I'll be traveling back east to visit, Ashley's mom and dad and my parents, and my sisters are
Nice.
coming to town and her sister. So it's like, it's going to be like it's a long time that we're home, but it's going to be like 2 days, 1 day, 2 days. So it's like a lot of running around, and so I'll be sort of like checking in on things and making sure it's all going, but Tim's really the one responsible those 2 days. And then yeah, we're like the company has a break basically, which means everyone but me, which so like
Yep.
clients are going to call, right? Like somebody's going to call, and it's either going
Yeah.
to be, but the nice thing is with the balance that I have with businesses and residential, I think like I might hear from the residential ones and they're like, hey, like it's no big deal, but like if you have time, and otherwise I'll hear from the new year, and it's like, so they
Yeah.
just like, there's no pressure, and and then the businesses usually, like most of the companies I support, are pretty quiet or closed officially during that time. Like, how is that your vibe too, pretty much?
Yeah, there are some that are closed officially, which is great because I know I won't really hear from them. But there are others that are working through because they might have business to conduct during that time frame. It could be busy for them for the holiday season,
Mm,
depending on their industry.
interesting.
But
Interesting.
yeah, that's why
Yeah.
I think it'll be okay. I don't really worry too much about the holiday break, to be honest with you.
I don't either.
Usually no fires happen that, well, I shouldn't say this. Geez, I'm going to jinx
Yeah, don't.
myself.
That's right. Yeah, no. Yeah,
But
don't jinx it.
all
But
right.
no, it's a really good point. Yeah.
Yeah.
So here
Uh,
you guys are talking about things that have already happened in the past
I
because
knew
this
it.
is our
I knew it. I knew Jerry would say this, but
Jerry, you're
all
supposed
right,
to be
I
at a
got something for
holiday
you, Jerry.
concert right now, and you
Yeah.
just come in just to scold
Joe.
us for.
You've
Yeah,
pulled
I'm
back
doing
too
it
much of the
again, aren't I?
curtain,
I'm doing
the
it
odds
again.
curtain, and you're showing
Oh
them,
man.
a lot of how the gears are turning and stuff like that. And this is the
Years.
first show of 2026. Happy New Year, everyone!
Right.
Thank you guys. For,
And just to
well,
cover our bases, we can't believe he did that either. It's
yeah.
completely insane. I mean, I don't even know how the world is still turning at this point, and yet here we are. Wow. Has it been a year since January 6th? No. Anyway, but
Oh boy.
all right. All jokes aside,
I do have something travel related though, because it was timely. If you don't mind, Jerry, not to
It
cut you off
was
there, but-
timely back in 2025,
Yeah.
but we're in
So,
2026.
Hey, at the very beginning,
I don't
of the
understand
year,
how this
people were
works. I don't
traveling.
get it.
Yeah, I know.
I actually don't understand how this works, because we're not allowed to talk about the new release of anything whenever it comes out, or like, does that mean ever? Like, there's this like really unique what do you call it, like embargo that Jerry has. Like, you can't talk about the holidays anywhere near the holidays because it dates the show. But like, so why don't we just pretend we're talking about like last Christmas? Like it's like,
Yeah,
like that doesn't affect anybody.
I like breaking that rule whenever possible though,
I
because it
know, me
really
too.
pisses them off. So
Yeah. So
No.
do you have travel coming up, or what's your?
yeah, no, it wasn't really about my travel, but I had
He had trouble coming up.
I had, yes, in the past. I traveled recently. I'm not sure how it went, but I'm sure it was an awesome trip.
Jerry, how was your Thanksgiving? I messed up the joke. How was your Christmas? All right, just continue. Just go back to Sam.
No, but I mean, with the travel season behind us, we'll say there was a message from an article from Tidbits Content Network, who we haven't talked about in a while, but obviously Tidbits is a big part of our businesses and how we use it for reaching out to our customers and having our customized content going out to them. So we love Tidbits Content Network for that, and Adam Angst and the whole team. But his recent email was talking about iPhone security when traveling. And by recent, I mean last year in December at some point. And he was discussing a travel story that someone had when they were communicating with someone while traveling in Argentina, and someone asked for directions. And they said, "Can you look at my map and see if it's similar to what you find in your directions?" And they held up their phone next to each other, and the woman telling the story said she felt a buzz on her phone, like a vibration. But no notification came up. There was nothing that said, "Would you like to share contacts?" or anything like that. The whole bump to share contacts piece. But she was concerned, and it brought up a whole conversation about safety and security for your iPhone while traveling. And the general consensus after reading that article was that it doesn't seem like anything technically occurred because there was no acceptance of that sharing component. But she was noting now, thinking back, that, hey, I really noticed there was something on the back of that person's iPhone, and it didn't look like a battery charger. And was I wrong to put my phone so close to theirs? But it just does bring up all of this caution that you should have when traveling and talking with strangers and holding your equipment nearby to them for any reason, like typing in a passcode when someone's shoulder surfing, which we've talked about before. So anyway, that was an interesting story that I found, that ultimately they deemed that, after talking with their security expert, that it didn't seem that any data was stolen, but it was still a scare for this person.
Yeah. Sometimes that's the best case scenario. Like when people have a scare like that, and there's this uncertainty of like, I don't know what happened, and I realize I wouldn't be able to know. I wouldn't be able to tell what happened, and so let me get really like clear about what I need to know now going forward. And, so it's like they can be scared into like paying closer attention to this kind of thing. But I mean, you've given some examples in the past, Sam, about like, you scan a QR code for parking, or I forget if Jerry, one of you guys mentioned this, we've talked about it. Scanning a QR code, you're trusting that this code is going to take you somewhere good, and like the scam that we talked about was somebody would just slap a new QR code on all the parking signs. I think that's a pretty genius move. It's like, however you look at it, it's stealing, right? Like I wouldn't do it because it's stealing, but it's like, if you're going to steal, it's a pretty like interesting, like, like the victims are probably going to be, I don't know. I'm not trying to justify it, but it's actually like, it seems like you could get away with it pretty easily for a while, and like no one would know. And like, and maybe who are you exploiting? I guess you're exploiting individuals, so that's not good. But you're the parking company doesn't get money. I don't know. It's an interesting like thing that I think somebody will find an even better way to scam, like the restaurant ones. Order your drinks here or whatever. But then like to your point, you also have, forget about scanning something, just putting your phone near something. So if you have an NFC like card, right? An NFC chip or whatever, you put your phone near it, that chip can be programmed to provide an address to your phone, and that address can be like credentials for a Wi-Fi network. It can prompt you to like connect to Wi-Fi. It can be a URL, so it can take you to, and people use these all the time for those types of purposes. And you can also make it so that you can run automations. Like there's a great one, somebody read about like washing machine timer or something. You're over there, you're loading the washing machine, you start it, you tap your phone to the little QR code that's sitting on, on the wall next to the washing machine. Now it starts a timer for the wash is 45 minutes or whatever. So pretty cool like feature, but clients, to like, they probably should be worried that actually that anything could have happened. Like, usually there's a confirmation though. So
yes. Although it was interesting. I did notice, I actually was at an event recently, and I was planning on sharing my contact with someone. So we put the phones together, but at the time I was about to share a photo. So I had a photo up with AirDrop a
Yeah.
functionality, that I was about to share. And when we buzzed, nothing happened on my phone because that attempt to airdrop something was on my screen.
Right.
So nothing did. So I was wondering if that's what happened to this person, is that when they did that, they had something in focus that their phone just couldn't show the contact. So once I X'd out of that sharing of my photo and we did it again, then I saw the share contact information to accept or share. So it could have been a situation like that in there. But yeah, all these things about QR codes that you bring up are an interesting point. And by the way, I've seen a lot of restaurants now completely move away from that. I don't see that anymore anywhere where I am. I don't know about you guys, but even after COVID, it was used for a while, and now
Oh,
I see
totally.
regular
Yeah.
menus in people's hands.
Yeah, I mean, we're talking about two different technologies. You're putting a
Sure.
lot more trust by scanning a QR code, but there's no on-off switch for NFC on the iPhone, and I wonder why that is. What would be the ramifications of actually having an on-off button for that?
I mean, it's used for your car key, like in your case, Sam, right? Like,
Sure, these are newer use cases for
Apple
it, but
Pay,
I would right. But wouldn't you think Apple putting safety before all else have
I
an
mean,
on-off
honestly, these
switch for
days,
that?
just maybe not be for profit. Like if making it too easy to turn off NFC turns off Apple Pay, I mean, that's going to affect their bottom line to the tune of millions, probably.
Well, they have a
So,
button for everything else, just about.
It's fair. I mean, but don't you
to
get
turn off NFC.
That's true. Yeah, right. Build it in. No, but like, don't you have clients get stuck where this doesn't work, and it's like, well, Bluetooth is off. Oh, I always put Bluetooth off. Well, why? I mean, then
Yeah.
your Find My is not. I don't even know. Like, it affects. I can't keep track of what all these things affect, but like, I'm
Sure.
pretty sure that would affect Find My, and that would affect AirDrop certainly, and different things like that. So
Right. So I'm thinking there must be other. I mean, Apple Pay is a good example, Joe. That maybe it's just all related to the bottom line, but there might be other things that we're not even aware of that NFC is involved with in the day-to-day communication with your device and with your AirPods and everything else. Even though it's telling you it's primarily using Bluetooth. We should ask Mr. Apple, but I don't know if he would know.
Where is he? I mean, get him on the show.
Well,
I have an early exit. By the way, I have an early exit, but I did want to bring up a couple things that happened to me recently. And one I think I discussed with Joe. Don't get offended, Sam, but I'll bring it up here. Okay. All right. And this was just something to share, kind of like human interest having to do with iCloud. And we had a client who had a problem with his calendar syncing, and he was using BusyCal. So BusyCal works with a separate unique password that you have to go into your Apple identity account and create a I'm blanking out
specific password.
App password, yes, sir. So it stopped syncing, and I thought that's what it was. So I did a remote. He's a regular subscriber, and I looked at his iCloud identity, and his iCloud identity that he was using for everything else was different than the iCloud identity that he was using for his calendar syncing. So we tried to log into his iCloud account for his calendar syncing, so I could create a new unique app password. And we can't get in. So I put, and interestingly, this particular user he's using his domain. So he's the pretend company, right? And he couldn't get pretend.com as his URL or as his domain. So he got pretendcom.com, which makes absolutely no sense to me. And I've had good chuckles about it over the years.
Yeah.
But so we try to go into like Joe at pretendcom.com. We can't get in. There's just he doesn't know what the password is. He's trying to do a password reset. Nothing is tied to phones. Nothing is working, right? So we call the ACN Apple secret squirrel number, and we get a second tier Apple support technician on the phone. And I'm telling him this, and he says, I forget how he actually discovered this with me, but he said, well, try a couple things. And I said, yeah, we could get the client on the phone if we need to. We can do a conference call. We could even have you access his computer if that's what you need to do. I can remote in, and we can use your technology to get you on board and take a look at it. And he's like, hang on a minute. So he comes back and he's like, yeah, I've seen this before. And I think when I was telling you this story, Joe, you guessed it, but So he said, try this. He said, try to put in because he said, basically your account predates iCloud. It even potentially predates mobile me. He said, just put in whatever name you think the user used. He says, I can't tell you what it is, but I've got it here in front of me. He said, so I put in, I said, well, it's got to be PretendCom, right? Because, he's pretendcom.com, right?
Yeah.
And he said, yeah, that's it. So I put in
Nice.
PretendCom. And so
no at anything, just PretendCom.
Right. And here's the crazy part. So I'm at the iCloud password reset page, and it's saying either put in an email address or put in a phone number. We couldn't put a phone number in because that wasn't working. And I tried to put in the fully qualified email address. That didn't work. I put in PretendCo. It advances to the next page, and I go to forgot your password. So there's no device that we could send it to, but because this guy, never changed his security questions, we went through exactly through the 3 security questions. He got them exactly right. And we were able to unlock this ancient account. And the Apple second tier engineer said to me, he says, congratulations. He said, I personally lost an account due to this because I could never come up with it. And he said, I rarely see this, but there's people that are out there. So how many times have you been in a situation, maybe not that often, maybe Joe, maybe more often?
I don't know if I've ever seen this. I was aware of it. I know that there was a thing called iTools, and I think in those days,
exactly,
that you could have, I forget even what they call it, but it's essentially a username. It's like an iTools ID or something back then. But Apple's pretty good. It's like once you have it, they don't take it away. Like you could still technically they make the infrastructure support this. To your point, they don't say, or if you have an iTools ID, username, that doesn't it applies to no one anymore. So it's not on that first page, but technically it works. Yeah.
It was the craziest thing. And I wanted to share this on the show because 1 out of a million might hear this and be able to unlock a user's account that they need access to.
Yeah.
Crazy.
I am surprised that Apple agreed. I know they can't tell you, but I'm surprised that he actually agreed and said that's the one. And usually they're I can't confirm or deny, but give it a shot.
Yeah. I think he had, like I said, this personal experience where it burned him at one point. So he was let me help you along as best I can.
Yeah.
And I didn't say, do you know who I am or anything like that? I mean, he knew I was calling this enterprise number, but at the same time, I didn't say oh, this is MacWorks,
I think
so he just
in the past
wanted
they
to be a
might
good
think
guy.
it's this. Yeah, he might think it's the store calling. I think it could be a lot of different, sources for that. Yeah,
I've called one of those enterprise numbers, and they're like, just out of curiosity, how did you get this number? You shouldn't have this.
Yeah. Well, a lot of times we'll call that ACN number, and they'll ask if we're in education. Is this an educational contract? So it's those people that are handling our calls. And I'm dating myself by calling myself an ACN, aren't I? You call the technical partner number.
This is a feature of the partner network. I assume it's still, going as part of that, but it was a feature of ACN.
Because in the new year, I mean in 2026.
Oh, yeah. Exactly. Right. Boy,
I have one more thing to share. And I shared this with both of you guys, but I definitely wanted to share it on the show. I have a client who she runs a very small office, and she's had health problems over the years, and she was going out for some surgery, and all her computers, even though she's basically signed a waiver from me, are still on Monterey. And one of the reasons why they do this is they use Quark, but Quark has been updated to run with the newer versions of Tahoe and Sequoia. But they're using Quark 2022, and she did not want to leave and have to do this sort of major upgrade right before she left. And this was sort of unanticipated surgery, emergency surgery. So she sends me a laptop, and she says, I want to take a laptop with me while I go. So can you go by the office and pick up the laptop? And I'm thinking yeah. And I told her it would be great if we had this laptop on our managed service plan. So here I'm thinking, this is another monthly piece of revenue. Even if they do upgrade all their computers, this is great. We're going to get the laptop on the plan. So the laptop, I go and pick up the laptop. It's in an Apple sealed box. So I figured, okay, they went to the store and they bought something new. I unwrap the box, remove the cellophane. I plug in this laptop. This laptop is from 2000. I looked at the serial number because the laptop wouldn't turn on. The laptop was from 2018 or 2019. It was manufactured in 2018, but it was still sold through 2019. And it was dead. It was dead. It came with a big fat MacBook Pro charger, like 3,000 watt one that they used to send it with, right?
I think it's like 90 watts, but yeah, close enough.
Right. So I had it plugged in overnight. I had
probably needs 3,000 watts if it's an Intel, exactly. Actually, yeah.
I had it plugged in for 3 days. I did the SMC reset. That's Joe texted me multiple times. Did you reset the SMC? So finally, I got the little red battery light to show up.
Oh, okay.
On the screen.
Yeah.
But it would never, those lithium ion cells would never take a charge.
Yeah.
So then I start looking and I'm thinking like, geez, I really want some recurring revenue here. It would really be a feather in my cap, not only to prep the laptop, I could charge her, because, baby needs shoes, right? So kids are going to college. Don't
you want to correct the issue of the incorrect model that came in?
Well, I guess it wasn't incorrect because this was my point too.
This was
I asked Jerry kind of an inflammatory, incisive question, which was like, I'll bite. Like, what's the reason that your client has this harebrained plan to? And basically it's to maintain like a platform access to like the same version of Quark and other software. And,
right. So Joe is saying, actually, Joe said, "Why the f would you want to be messing around with the machine that old?"
Caught me in a moment. Yeah.
This is when he was dealing with his Patreon client.
Yeah, probably. Yeah.
So
and Jared's some people need, and like it was like your idea, and I'm like, oh, okay.
There's some people who need money, Joe.
Yeah.
Don't want to do the jobs for free. If you're a Patreon subscriber, by the way, we've got a 2 juicy part 1 and part 2 in January of this year. Part 2 may air in the second month of February 2026, but you definitely want to subscribe and tune into those because you're going to hear about a really interesting saga that Joe told about a client who did not want to be in the cloud and he took her off the cloud, hook, line, and sinker. I'm not sure even what that means.
I call it my clear skies client.
Yeah,
not a cloud in the sky.
All
right, good. Continue.
So I look on iFixit. And because I've done these before, I've done some of these before. And I always told myself, I'm not going to remove the batteries that are glued in where I have to wear the mask and take the acetone and take the paint scraper and unglue them. I said, I had done like 2 of those. One was for a friend and the other one was for a client. And I said, never again. But I figured I needed to do this. I needed to make some recurring revenue on this dollar amount that we charge on this laptop. Why not put the laptop on the program? So I start to look on iFixit. I first find some kits on Amazon. They're like $100. I'm like, yeah, I could probably do this. Luckily I looked on iFixit. This is the one where you pretty much have to take off the whole top assembly because it involves removing the trackpad too. There's craziness with the trackpad. And the trackpad back in those days was not synthetic. Is that possible? Where they still had the shims?
Oh, it's like a physical click, like an actual.
Oh my gosh, maybe not. Maybe I'm wrong here, but it was definitely a trackpad removable. And I said, there's no way I'm going to do this. So what do? I can't bring it to the Apple store. That's the other thing too. I can't even pay Apple to do it because Apple has called this a legacy.
That should be your first clue that this is a losing game. Like Apple won't, even the store. And by the way, for the listeners at home, this is not a best of show from 1992. Okay, this is Jerry working on a brand new project for a client. Yes, you heard that right. It's an Intel machine with a battery that's like, yeah, go ahead.
All right. Thank you, Joe, for the clarification. Unless you are playing at home with the old bingo cards, you have to have this new bingo card out.
Yeah.
So So I couldn't bring it to Apple because I couldn't pay them any amount of money to do this repair because it's legacy, or is that what
Right.
they call it? Legacy,
I think
Mr. Apple?
legacy or vintage now, maybe. Is it
Vintage,
vintage? Yeah.
vintage. That's
I
the
believe they
word.
call it old as F, but
Yeah,
go
exactly.
ahead.
Right.
What would Seinfeld? It's vintage. All right. So I had always enjoyed watching this guy named Louis Rossman, who was
Yes.
based out of New York City, do repairs on Apple products, micro repairs, soldering, working with the logic board, doing these amazing things with microscopes and doing videos on them. And he had this amazing story, which I'm not even quite clear on, but he moved from New York City, where he was located for years,
Oh, right.
and he relocated in Austin, Texas.
Right.
So they do repairs. They do mail-in repairs. You can't mail them an iMac, but they'll do mail-in laptop repairs.
Mhm.
So I mail it off to the Rossman Group. Rossman's Group's repair, including the battery, was $200. I actually had them expedite the repair. So
It's
I
well
got
worth
it back. Yeah, I got it back. So the expedition cost was $100. It sounds so weird. It was
Yeah.
an extra $100, and I
Hmm.
knew the client would gladly pay that. So I mailed it out like on a Monday, and I got it back on like a Thursday or something,
Wow.
because I think they wanted to make sure it worked, like charge it up for 24 hours before they sent it out. They
Hmm.
probably actually could have sent it out earlier, but it was amazing. So they were easy to deal with. I called them on the phone, but you can find the mail order forms on site. They had this very, very neat, and I did not save them, and I regret that. They put almost like a laser etched label where it has the model number, the client name, the serial number, all these informational things, that the contact number that you want to get from the client, knowing exactly what job you're picking up, and they had it on the front and on the back. So in case they remove the back of the computer, which
Right.
of course they would, they can make sure that that matches up with the model, that the label is on top. It was a little difficult to remove when I received it back, but it was very, very impressive laser etched. That's the only thing I can think of. I'm saying etched, but it wasn't etched. It was a laser printed tag, but the tag looked incredibly good and sharp. And, it was this big, but it was
Yeah.
smallish.
Mhm.
So that was kind of cool. And is that what I was going to share? I'm having a brain fade here. So I had a great success with them. So kudos
Nice.
to Rossman Group. And if you have clients who have either current computers or older Macs, they can not only do these harebrained battery swaps that Apple doesn't want to do anymore, but they can do serious logic board repairs.
Wow.
Yeah.
Good to know.
Yeah. The liquid spill is the more common one for something like that, where, it's like, yeah, it's component level repair, I call it. I think that's the right name for, like, replacing a blown resistor on a logic board or something to repair a liquid spill like that. And it's good to know that it exists. I mean, in this case, ideally what would have happened is if they had just bought the machine from a reputable source, like maybe a Mac of all trades or something, if they still deal with Intel, I don't know. But they could have then maybe returned it, and just like gotten a replacement, because the idea was this was purchased a year ago, right? Like it was new out of the box, but didn't they buy it a lot prior, or no, they just bought it.
No.
Okay.
And I probably buried the lead on this story, didn't I? No, my thought was that it was purchased at one time within their last, like it could have been purchased 5 years ago and sat in a closet and
I
remained
see.
unopened all
Okay.
those
Got it.
years.
Got
So
it.
it's not new old stock.
Yeah.
It's old stock.
I think it is new old stock because it's like
It would be,
it's
yeah.
still,
It would still, yeah.
yeah, even though it's in somebody's closet or whatever. But like, yeah,
Yeah.
that explains why the battery was so dead that the cells just needed to be replaced rather than, because I think, like, so you did see it lit up eventually, which is really
It did.
interesting.
Mhm.
But I've seen cases where when it's really dead, but this assumes like it's been in use for a while and then it sits, like it drains to zero and then it sits for like a month or more. Then sometimes it can take like over an hour, like leave it plugged in for, like 4 hours. And I probably wouldn't leave it unattended in those cases, just in case there is like a real issue with the battery, just
Mhm.
overheating or something. But like let it charge for a good, like literally like hours before it will get a base charge to be able to actually turn on. But you tried that. Obviously, in this case, it didn't work because it was just sitting for so long.
Right. And when I
Yeah.
mentioned this to the client, I didn't say like, when did you buy this?
Yeah.
Where is this from? Because, you know,
Right.
she wasn't feeling well, and they
Yeah.
just she accepted that like it won't take a charge. She gets it. She
Right.
got it. So
Yeah.
who knows what the provenance of this was.
Couldn't be returned though at that point. Obviously, everybody knew.
Oh,
you know,
no.
yeah, there was no
Yeah.
returning it. Yeah,
I totally
so,
misunderstood that story originally when we were talking privately. Like I thought you ordered a computer and this old one came in the
and
mail.
the wrong thing. Yeah.
I was like, oh my God.
Yeah, and then they're like, well, I'll just pay for it to be repaired.
Yeah,
I was like, wait, what's
going
going on here?
I, I was totally thrown by this story.
Yeah. Anything to make a buck.
We're gonna wrap up a little early now for me today, but I have a tip and I have a sleuthing. So if you guys are interested, I'll just share I'll share this sleuthing thing, and then Jerry, you might be interested in this tip too. Before maybe you have to jump. Okay, yeah, he's edit. Okay, so I'll share the sleuthing. So because Jerry shared his saga of sleuthing there in a couple of examples. This one was the client reached out because her sent mail was empty in Gmail. So she would send email, it would go to the recipient, it would be delivered, and then it would just be gone. So, okay, like, and this started off with a text message. I think I was missing some context. It turns out that she had been working on this with someone else, a different technology provider who like was employed by a company she's involved with or something. So, I was missing the context, but basically that person had tried and failed, like had fixed it, quote unquote, fixed it, but then it happened again. And so I got involved and I see, yeah, sure enough, there's nothing in the sent folder since like May. Okay. So there's nothing in there since May. So you send a message and then we would see it appears and then it's gone. So, and it would be delivered. So I sent myself a test. I got the test. Look in her sent, it's there. And then some time later, it's gone. So I said, there's got to be a different device involved because, I'm seeing on this device, like it's there, but then there's got to be another one that's checking for mail that's causing this to happen, but it's her sent folder. So what program, what app is like dealing with the sent folder?
What's her mail provider?
Gmail.
Gmail. Oh, yeah. Okay. I know
Personal Gmail address. Okay. I want to see if you get this. So I check, mail rules on all the devices that I could, that she could find the Mac. And then I'm like, there's no mail rules on the iPhone or iPad, right? So I don't know. Do you have the Gmail app? Like, is there something weird in that? No, it's just a mail app on both. Okay. So, server side rules, nothing, filters, the Gmail stuff that you would typically look for. So then, I'm exploring like anything I can think of, like junk mail filtering on the Mac now, because it's not rules, but maybe something about junk mail. And if you go into that screen, you have the option for blocked addresses. So I bring up that screen on her Mac and I'm looking at, let's see, is it the junk mail screen? Or is it the rules?
This is Apple Mail?
Yeah, it's an Apple Mail. I can't remember where the heck this thing is now. So it's the section. Is it in? I can't find it now.
For blocked addresses?
Oh, I'm sorry. It is under junk mail. Yeah, I just found it. So it's under the junk mail tab, and there's like a separate tab for blocked right there. So I find my way to that tab, and I see she's got a whole list of blocked contacts. So I go through the list. I'm scrolling, and I see her name. And I see her husband and her phone number and is that what you were thinking this could be?
No, but
okay.
Yeah, I know where you were going when you found it, but yeah.
Yeah. So my theory is, and this I think is what fixed it, because I haven't heard back, this was like a week ago, is that she had added herself to the blocked senders.
That's new.
Now, guess what? Her Mac had that feature turned off, but her Mac is where I could see the list very easily. So I see the list of all these, and it's like, oh, that's my husband. That's his phone number. That's my, it's like, that's Walgreens pharmacy or something. It's like, this stuff shouldn't be blocked. I don't know why. She's like, I probably just got annoyed one day. I'm like, okay, but I don't know. But, you got a list here. So my theory is her own email address was listed as a blocked address, but it was turned off on the mail app, but it was syncing to, let's say, the phone. And the phone had that feature enabled. So every time she would go into her sent on the phone and refresh, and then her phone would say, wait a minute, this one's blocked. They shouldn't be able to email you. Like, your own email address is blocked. So even though this email just appeared in this folder under junk, it was being put in the trash because it was blocked.
Yeah.
Or, sorry, not under junk, under sent. Yeah. So what a weird. And
that is a weird one.
The only thing that made me think of that was this is the reason I went to the block screen. She sent me a screenshot. She goes, "Yeah, I'm in the sent and I see there's this little symbol. It's like a traffic symbol. It's like." And I was like, "Do not enter symbol?" So I said, "Send me a photo." So she takes a photo and I see, sure enough, in her screenshot is a little red, circle with a line through it, the do not enter symbol. And I could see in the screenshot also it's next to what I think was her email to herself, or actually it's also happening. Sorry, it's happening to her email to me. So it's happening to all sent email because they're sent
Right.
from her, which is the blocked address. That's why it's showing the little red thing next to it, showing that it's blocked. So
That's crazy.
there you
I
go.
was, so my guess was going to be mailbox behaviors in the account settings,
Yeah.
because
Okay. Oh yes.
the way Gmail does labels and things like
Yep.
that. And
Good point.
because I had a customer where this happened to, where their trash messages didn't show any of the stuff that they were trashing.
Okay.
And I was looking at the labels in Google Online. I was like, this is the source of truth, blah, blah. So long story short is, in their mailbox behaviors, their trash mailbox was set to archive instead of the
Right.
trash.
Got
And
it.
it was labeling it as all mail. Oh no, I'm sorry. It was labeling it as all mail and just not putting it in the trash bin. Once
In the
I
actual
flipped that
trash.
switch, just
Yeah.
all of her trash started to show up.
Got it. Yeah. I think I thought of that too with the sent, because I was thinking, well, maybe when you send the message, it's going into the wrong sent folder. And we did find she had like a different sent folder in the trash and another sent. Like there was a weird issue with sent, but the clue was like it was going into sent at first and then it was moving out of sent, into the trash.
Yeah.
So it's like something's applying a rule. It turns out it's this blocked, address.
That's a good
So
sleuthing right there, man.
it was a fun one, and it's good when you get to the end of that, and like, you think they do appreciate it, but I think that they don't realize like how lucky that it is that like even you think to like ask
Right.
the screenshot of this symbol and then the symbol next to her email in the sent is like, oh, maybe that is really, then you're following this. It's fun. That's the fun part of it.
Yeah.
It's like follow this
Especially
loop.
when you get to the answer.
Yeah, exactly. When it actually works. I guess the last thing I have, because I got to run, is this thing called Speedify. I came across this in a random Reddit thread, and it's a system. I'm just curious if anyone out there has actually encountered this before. It's VPN software for the phone, so it uses the built-in like VPN mechanism, and it basically does connection bonding. So you can have your phone is connected to AT&T, let's say. You can plug in an Ethernet adapter that plugs into a Starlink. So if you're like super portable, they give the example of if you're an influencer and you're going on like to a sporting game and you're reporting live with your phone, like you can have like, whereas everybody's contending for the same connections, Verizon or AT&T, they get saturated. If you can actually combine those. And the other thing that they do besides the interfaces, which are obviously limited in the phone in terms of bonding, is you can share your connection with another person who's using Speedify, and they can share with you.
I'm seeing that in here.
If
That's
you're on the local network, it's mind-boggling that they were able to make this work, and this is a supportable thing. But
yeah, I got to read into this some more when we have some time, but that's very interesting.
it's really, really cool. I didn't know anything like this existed, and I thought, if I had this during van life, that would have made like our internet, connectivity even easier. And like, you don't need a dedicated bonding like router. You just use your phone. It's kind of
Yeah,
wild.
that's kooky, as one might say.
That's right. It really is. Well, thanks
All right.
everybody for listening to another episode of Command Control Power. As we are now well
Don't say it.
into 2026, I don't know. Jerry's going to be really shaking his fist when he hears this outro. So one way
Well,
or
he
the
said
other.
we couldn't announce him coming in, but then he said I had to leave early.
Yeah,
I'm like, hey, why couldn't
exactly.
we say you came in late?
His rules are a little hard to follow sometimes, but yeah, this is I think one of our first public episodes of 2026. So it's hopefully here's to a great year, and send us your questions and comments. We really appreciate all your listening and support, and thanks for listening to another episode of Command Control Power.
Bye.